Um, has anyone ever told Spilo it's not called Sonic, it's called Sonic Arrow and Storm Arrows? Yeah. I don't know. I'm so terrible with like the details and stuff. Like I forget numbers. Like I forgot how much Inspire healed for. I mean, I actually can't even remember how much Inspire heals for. I think it's like, what is it, 75 healing over like 5 seconds or something like that. I forget those numbers all the time. I forget the names of things. It's not good. So I apologize if I muff stuff up like that. Yeah, I'm not the only coach though. There's a couple other coaches that completely mispronounce thing, and that's almost even more triggering. It's like a mispronunciation. Okay, you describe your understanding of Overwatch's positioning, timing, and quality of plan. The first two are easy to understand, or are they? Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm kind of scared about that. But what do you mean by the latter? Could you give me an example? What would be looking to fix it if it was the issue? What makes a good plan versus a bad plan? How do you make sure you have the good ones? So quality of plan is basically just like let's look at this situation. Like this is the simplest way I can put it. You have Grav Dragon, and this is like macro Overwatch. Okay, you have Grav Dragon and you have Earth Shatter. All right. The enemy team does not have a support ultimate, or you know, heck what, they do have a support ultimate. All right. What should be the plan? If you have Grav Dragon and let's say they have Beat, what should be the plan? Should look for a Shatter? No, you Grav Dragon. That's the better plan. You're gonna Grav Dragon, and then I don't know, you could like bubble your Ryan and have him pin somebody out of the Grav to make sure that they get isolated and killed, right? Or you could just go in there and make sure that everybody's in a position to like blow up and burn the Beat down really fast, and then maybe Shatter afterwards. So like what I mean by plan is that like a lot of teams in Overwatch League, contenders, tier 3, ranked, etc., maybe their positioning and timing are okay, like they're set up for a good fight, but then they do something really stupid, like they waste their flashbang, right? Or they look for a really low value flashbang, or they'll use Grav and then they'll Dragon too late, or not too late, but they think that Grav Dragon should be used, you know, in that location, it should be used in this location. This is something like you get to like Goats was a big one where like people had like macro game plan strategies for ults. In other words, people would be like, all right, we're gonna bomb. No, need to wait, Amari, plus trance your own Grav. And you did that because if you tranced Grav, they would just bubble pin. They'd pin somebody out of the Grav and kill it. So what you do is you drop your Diva Bomb inside of your Grav to discourage that Reinhardt from pinning anybody out. So that was like plan stuff, right? It gets like kind of complicated sometimes. Like let's say if you're playing, you're playing a Mei comp into a spam comp. You can have good positioning and good timing, but if your decision is we're going to run down that Ana and blizzard the Ana across the map instead of like we're going to play more around point pressure, and then that's just a bad plan, right? So plan is just simply you have you're positioned well for it, you time it well, but it's a stupid idea. It's a stupid idea, right? So the goal is to set up well, to time well, a good plan. That's the goal. It's actually not super complicated. It's actually the easiest one to understand. It can be tricky to figure out what is a good plan and what is a bad plan. Like, is Nano Monkey a good plan or is Nano Echo a good plan, right? It depends on the situation, but it's overall not a very complicated or like esoteric concept. I'm a main tank player around low diamond, high plat range. I notice myself losing a lot of games in full sky industry, especially when the enemy team has a Mei. Probably where you're holding. So if the enemy team has a Mei and you have more spam, just like we talked about we just talked about this in the VOD, actually, we just went over about how like you probably are autopiloting and holding choke. So like, let's say you're defending the choke here and there's the big truck, right? And you're defending right here, right? You're probably just like, oh, I'm going to hold here, and then you get walled off, or your teammates get walled off, and you just die here, right? Mei is really strong on that choke. So what you do is you might spam a little bit there, hold a little bit of shield, but you probably play closer around point, because point is more open space, and Mei is going to be a lot worse. And the DPS that you might be playing that are not Mei are probably a lot better. Same thing with attack. In attack, you want to try and rotate towards more open spaces. On attack first, you'd probably swing left of truck instead of right. In other words, if you were the one attacking through the choke, so I'm going to flip it now. Here's the truck. on first point, you probably wouldn't go in here. You probably want to go in this way because there's more open space in the side of the map, right? On attack on second, the choke right here, right? And then the, you guys know that little elevator, right? The little elevator high ground you can go up to up here. You probably don't want to autopilot smash through here. You probably want to go to elevator with your team and then drop off of elevator to the corner like that instead. So your team now has high ground against the May wall. Whereas if you just go down main, you're just going to get walled off. Someone's going to get walled off and you're going to die. So like adjust how you path and how you hold versus the May. Don't just be like, oh, I have to survive May wall. How about you get it to a point to where May wall isn't even that effective against you? That's the goal. Okay. How do you play around the brig in double bubble? I'm not sure what you mean how you play around the brig. You bubble your monkey. That's why there's double bubble. I'm not sure. This doesn't make any sense. You just bubble your monkey and that's it. Or you can have your monkey engaged from like creative, or I mean, we just went over this the other day with the Fearless VOD review on Gibraltar. You can go back and watch it where we looked at how both Fearless and Fate from Shanghai were being a little bit creative and unorthodox with their engages to make it a lot harder for the enemy brig to whip shot because they didn't have a bubble. They had Diva on that map. If you don't have a brig in your own, how do you generally counter Nano Monkey? I mean, what do you have? Do you have a Mercy? Well, your Ana needs to land the sleep dart. You need to be able to kite it, and then your Mercy needs to be able to pocket your Ana so that she can land her sleep dart. If you have a Lucio, you can boop them away and then amp speed out. If you have a Moira, you fade away, you heal orb your Ana and hope, or you run away. I mean, why would you run Ana Moira? Never mind. I mean, but there's every hero has different ways of doing it, but you either need to sleep it or burn it or kite it. There's no cute secret way of doing it. It's just every hero has different ways of doing that. I don't know if I should focus on playing grinding one role or play multiple roles. I play a lot of tank and DPS. I usually choose one role for a one-day session and play it for a few hours. And the thing is, tank games feel much easier than DPS, and about 200 SR higher than DPS. Well, you're a better tank than you are DPS then. Should I just make the switch to tank for a few weeks and it's okay to switch up? I mean, this is a flawed question. This is like saying, some days I eat McDonald's and Burger King, and some days I eat healthy foods. Should I focus on eating healthy foods for a few weeks and then swap back to unhealthy, and then should I be doing easier workouts while I'm doing that or harder workouts while I'm doing that? Like, it's a flawed question. Don't do that, please. Like, if you really want to climb, playing both roles is never going to be the best way to do it. It's going to be inferior. So if you want to climb, if you want to say I hit 3.4, yay, or I hit 3.5, I hit masters, yay, then yes, making a swap to playing tank for several weeks is going to be good because you're going to actually grind the proper role instead of alternating roles. Like, I don't understand how that needs to be your mindset there. Well, of course, this climb is really slow. I'm surprised that you're climbing at all. This isn't just going to work. This isn't going to work. I mean, so yeah, I don't recommend that at all. Right, exactly. Do you want to focus on improving or do you want to play casual? There's nothing wrong with playing both tank and DPS. I legit, when I play quick play with friends, I'm like locking the flex rule just for fun because I don't give a rip. I'm just playing for fun. Why is Ralph not in the Spilo approved partners channel? He needs to send in. I need to hammer time some of his stuff. I have looked at a couple of his VODs. I like most of his content, but I haven't really studied it, so I don't really know. I like Ralph. He seems like a really nice guy, and I've heard lots of really good things about him, but I have not actually studied. So I don't show favorites. I have to actually study your thing before I approve. There's some birds freaking out outside. And my cat just freaked out as well. Okay, how many gamers per day would you recommend? Games per day? How the gamers? Would you recommend someone to climb from flat to top 500? It's gonna be at least. Depends on how fast. You could probably get there in 6, but it would take a long time. 8 to 10, I would say. I did it with about 8 or 9 a day, but also I had days where I did a couple more. But I don't think I ever had a day, like especially when I was really hard grinding, I always did like at least 5 or 6. Like I never had an off day, because I found out that like my level of play dipped too hard when I had an off day. So I would do at least 5 or 6, sometimes 10, 11, 12 a day, but I would try to keep it consistent. And I would recommend the same for you. Don't discrepancy too much. That's not good to learn. That's not good to train. It's not a good mentality to put yourself in. But yeah, any advice for breaking players autopilot? But yeah, I would say 8 to 10, and it's still going to take you a while. It's going to take you a little while. But I mean, if you have fun and you're playing a role that you enjoy, it really isn't so bad. Like when I was in my hard, like maybe it's different for other people. But actually, once I got into the hard grind mindset and just was playing 8 to 10 games per day, I actually started, like, it wasn't actually as much of a chore as I thought it would, and I got a lot less emotionally volatile. Now I'm not a very emotional, like, I'm not a super emotional person, but like, I'm saying like tilt and stuff, right? Like tilt just stopped affecting me as much because I was just like, play my games, let's go, you know. And if I got in a loss streak, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna play again the next day. Like I got like almost like apathetic just because I knew that like I was gonna play. Okay, I lost 8 games in a row today. Yeah, but I'm gonna be playing another 50 games the rest of this week, so I just don't even care. So like it just didn't bother me. There was a lot less emotional tie to a loss or win because I was playing so much, and I just knew that eventually I was gonna get better. When coaching a team, that's discuss word. Breaking players autopilot. I mean, hustle is something that I really drive for with players. Is like the goal should be that, like, one way you can break autopilot that I believe is that like you should be trying to win every single fight without exception. Even in quote unquote dry fights, there are no dry fights. That's my thing. You cannot waste ultimates, but you can need to go into a fight going like, okay, let's think of something creative to win the fight. So one of the ways you can do an autopilot is like challenge players to be creative and unorthodox. Even if it means you break the macro a little bit and do things like not exactly perfectly technically right, just for players to stay engaged, for players to have fun, and for players to try different things. Like they should be stress testing, trying different things, communicating as teams, and as long as they're like hustling, then I don't really care. And in a way that can break autopilot because it's a lot less boring. It forces them to engage, and it's also more enjoyable to engage. I really started with Blizzard World B in rank. My hero pool consists of Winston, Ryan, Ball. I mean, that could be a little awkward in Blizzard World B. It's a little bit of an open map. Ball should be fine though. I have a classic problem of enemies being consistently AFK low ground and struggling to get good pathing in Winston. I mean, if they're AFK in low ground, just take the high ground and drop on them, and you can jump out back to high ground and get healed. Alchemy and jump top phys for me. Yeah, this is terrible if you're playing Winston. I mean, breaking Blizzard World B versus a Pokecomp as Winston. If the Pokecomp is not on high ground, use the high ground. If they are on high ground, then yeah, you kind of have to go underneath them. Or you have to go like all the way under left side, like through the, you know, the indoors mega on the left side from defenders, if this is your spawn, and then you can kind of come out on top on them. But I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's rough. I mean, that's where you just go Ball. I think Ball would be a lot better there if you're gonna do that. So break that spam comp with Ball, or play underneath them and jump atop and then drop afterwards. But yeah, there's no real good answer there. It's a very open map with not a lot, like, and if they're already on the high ground, then you're completely limited to what you can do with Winston. Okay, what do you believe meta will be for Overwatch League for the June Joust? I mean, I already predicted this one. I said it was going to be some double shield. I said it was going to be some poke dive. In other words, like more echoes, more ashes, Winston Diva, things like that. And then I said Reaper Rush. So, or Reaper Dive, I guess. Reaper Dive would be better. So like Winston Diva, Reaper, Genji, or Echo, Moira, Lucio. And guess what? I was right. We saw all three yesterday. So we saw double shield, right, with the Bat Brig. You could play it with Bap Zen in some maps where it's like more open, but Bap Mercy was also what I predicted, and it happened. Poke Dive, because you know, like dive heroes are still strong. Teams have gotten relatively and repped a lot of dive, but obviously there's no Sombra Tracer anymore, so teams have to go for more like DPS that mesh with dive besides Sombra Tracer. And then Reaper Dive because teams still want to play like Moira Lucio and run down pokier dive comps. But because you don't have Sombra Tracer to do it, you have to find other mobile DPS. And there's really only 3 DPS that can do that. It's Reaper, Genji, and Echo. Because those heroes are mobile, relatively self-sustained, and are also fast. Doomfist, Mei, Creed, not so much. But yeah, I'm bragging because I've not had, in the past, like a year ago, I was terrible at predicting stuff like this, and I actually predicted correctly. So I'm feeling good about myself. I'm gonna sleep a lot one night, and I'm gonna call my mom. In fact, you should call my mom as well and let her know that her son's a genius. That would be really, I would appreciate that. You built your own super team for Overwatch League 222. Nah, dude, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting baited. I just don't rate players. I just don't. I do have opinions about certain players that I think are good. Like I know BQB has consistently stood out to me as a solid DPS player. I like BQB. I think Twilight's a good Ana. I think Fearless is a great Winston. I think Striker looks good on Tracer. I mean, the ones that I've scouted particularly, like I will have opinion on. I think Kevster's a good DPS player. But I'm not comfortable building a super team for Overwatch League until I've scouted like more teams, if not every team. And also even then it's hard because I don't know like what communicational value other players bring. Like might be players that are just kind of dog, but they bring something that allows the team to win, and that's beyond important. That's even more important than the mechanics. So if you want to ask me about teams or players that have scouted and build a super team from that, maybe that would be fun, but I don't know if even then if that would be good. I look like Ninja from Fortnite. I haven't told that. Yeah, I've been told that. Hi, kitty. She really wants to be fed, and she can't be fed yet. She has to wait. I will feed you in just a few minutes. Oh, another one. Who is the best or most successful player that you have coached? Whoa, she's just gonna go. Probably Khan. I've not coached many Overwatch League players. I've coached 5. Dredro, Khan, Don, Aztac, and I'm 37. I think Khan is the most successful one because he's getting like a lot of like in terms of like not wins or losses, but like yeah, in terms of like actually like recognition and also it's very well deserved. In terms of not Overwatch League, and like let's define successful as another word, like successful in terms of what they've accomplished outside of just winning games or being great and everybody thinking they're great. Backbone is another one I'm really proud of, and to an extent Backbone and Graythan. I think Backbone and Graythan are both DPS with sheer cold that I worked with, and they're both kind of like not no names, but people didn't respect them very much even though they're good guys, and they worked hard, and I got to work a lot with them on their like mental and their confidence and things like that, and they worked very hard themselves. I get very little credit for any of that, and now they're like considered like to be like the best in their role and the regions that they play in, and they're both phenomenal players, and they're both really hard work, and they're both down to earth, and they both aren't ego, and they're nice guys, and I'm very, very proud of both of them. So, and they're like considered to be like the best in their role, and they're mechanically cracked, and it's like that's as encouraging for me, if not more encouraging than somebody reaching Overwatch League. And to be honest, these guys have a very solid chance of reaching Overwatch League at some point as well. Did I'm 37 win contenders though? He did, but I that is a pretty big deal. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How can I find out how to play the new Moira Lucio Rush comp? I feel like somebody in my Discord and social self promo put something on this. I didn't watch it. But I feel like somebody did. Yeah, see? Lucid. I don't know if this is any good, but I feel like we've hammer timed Lucid before or looked at Lucid stuff before, and I think it was pretty good. So I would check out that. Probably fine. What made you pick Spilo and Stormcrow Productions? So, cringe alert. I grew up and I loved Legos as a kid. And I loved Bionicles as a kid. Like, I loved them. They were my childhood since I was like, they came out when I was like 7 years old. And they were my childhood. They were the main, really, by like 70-80%. Like, I didn't play with a lot of other toys. I liked other toys and I was like really into science and stuff like that, but I flipped and loved Bionicles so much. And I don't really know where Spilo came from, the name exactly, but that was my main Bionicle name. It was literally my Bionicle name, was Spilo. And then that was like when I was like 11 or 10 years old, and I just kind of used it for everything. Like forum account, like I was involved in like the Lego forums. So there was like an old Lego online game called My Lego Network, and I got involved in some of the forums with that, and I was like, hey, like I'll just use my Bionicle name, you know, that's fine. And I just started using Spilo as like my username for any video game that I played after that, and it just kind of stuck. So I used it for Lord of the Rings Online when I played that game. Used it for the Lego games. I used it for, you know, this account, that account, and they just kind of used it from there. And then Stormcrow Productions, that's just a straight ripoff of Lord of the Rings, which I've always, not always, but I was a big fan of in high school. And because like Gandalf is like my favorite fictional character, so I loved Gandalf. I thought he was awesome, and so big Lord of the Rings fan. I also had before, I mean, you can look back at my old YouTube videos. Before Overwatch, I was heavily involved in Lord of the Rings Online. I actually was an official streamer. So my first streaming days, before I ever streamed Overwatch, I was actually streaming Lord of the Rings Online for their official channel. So I got invited to stream for their official Twitch channel. And because I was like a hardcore PvPer, I was actually the best in the game at a specific class. And so I used to do PvP streams on those streams. And then the PvP kind of tanked, and I resigned, and then I kind of moved on and tried Overwatch, and it kind of went from there. But Stormcrow Productions was my Lord of the Rings Online YouTube thing that I did. There's a lot of interesting videos that you could, if you want to dig up, you can find some pretty interesting stuff. I look like young Gandalf. Interesting. I take that as a compliment, but I don't know exactly how you would say that. Is it the bushy eyebrows or something? All right. I feel so demotivated to play Overwatch right now. Why do you grind and try to improve when you know for a fact that your role is getting deleted next year? I'm not really attached to the heroes. I'm more attached to the role. Do you have any advice or off-think plans? Like, anything I should start grinding DPS or soft role now? I mean, if you like the heroes that you play, just keep playing them. The players that are going to adjust well are going to be the players that are just good at the role. Like, they're just good at the game. Like, here's the thing. If you grind D.Va and Zarya to like 4K, and they change those heroes slightly, you're not going to drop to Diamond. Everybody's going to have to adjust. The main tank players are going to have to adjust. The DPS players are going to have to adjust. The supports are going to have to adjust. You are being unfairly targeted, for sure. But that doesn't mean that you're going to all of a sudden tank and drop. The heroes will change, but they will still be on the roster, and they will still probably function relatively in the same regard. And the thing with Overwatch that I've learned is that if you climb to GM with a couple of heroes, if you were to swap roles, if I were to go, okay, I climbed 4.1k with Zen, now I'm playing Reinhardt, my climb to GM would be even easier. And then if I got to 4.1k with Reinhardt and then decide I'm gonna do it with Winston, it would be even easier. And we see this all the time. I work with we tried, remember when we had Landon on for Lucio coaching on stream, right? He was a DPS player, I think, at one point, and then he swapped main flex support for a brief period of time, and then just went main support, and then decided, you know what, I'm just going to play flex support, and he was like 4.7. General game knowledge of the game, positioning, timing, thinking about your cooldowns, and just the learning mindset, that is carry-overable, not only from game to game, but within Overwatch from role to role. So if you work really hard and get really good at off-tank, that's not going to be thrown in the trash can when Overwatch 2 comes out, I promise you. Especially if you're having fun while you're doing it. Like, why else? Just go do it. Have fun and don't worry about it. And if the rules change, the rules change. You'll pick it right. You'll pick it up in stride. I promise you. If it's completely changed, then yeah, go swap DPS and you'll crush it on DPS because you actually know how to off angle and you've been grinding your mechanics and you understand like cooldown timing and stuff. So like, there's so much in Overwatch that carries over. There's so much. Like, you look at like every top 500 player in Overwatch is at least masters on their off roll. Almost every single one. You know, worst case scenario, you drop a rank. You know, and that's not the end of the world. And that's years in the future. Like, we don't even know when this is going to happen. So, don't just. I mean, I appreciate the trust, but don't just trust me. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. If you just think about it without getting like emotional about it, which I get it, you'll come to the right. You'll come to the right answer. If I were to make a Symmetra guide, what the key concepts to include? I think the big thing with Symmetra is about finding creative ways to close the distance. on the enemy team, because Symmetra is a hero very similar to Reaper, where you can do very, very little unless you're up in front of the enemy team. But because you lack Reaper's mobility, at least consistently, you have TP, you need to be able to find creative ways to be able to close distance, because the truth of the matter is that if you're not beaming anybody, then you're not doing anything as Symmetra. So you need to find a way, either through cover, corners, short sightline flanks here, utilize a cheeky TP into a Symmetra, whatever flank, and then back again. You need to find a way to close the distance. Otherwise, Symmetra is a dog hero. You can spam with right clicks, but right clicks are generally used for like little 1v1 duels, right? For burst, or they're used for long range spam just to like farm some ult charge, right? That is not something that you should be relying on mid-fight. It is always beam, almost always beam without exception. So I'd focus on that. I'd focus on turret placement, cover corners, controlling the map, or using them for TP bombs, one or the other. And then other thing I'd talk about is TP usage. I think a lot of lower rank Symmetras think about TP as like this team-wide, everybody needs to follow up on me. It is a synergy thing that I have to use, and everybody has to coordinate with me, otherwise I'm not doing anything with this hero. When reality is that TP should be used more selfishly until you get to, like, I guess, a higher rank when there's more communication and more synergy. And even then, you're still using it a lot selfishly for TP bombs, for, you know, you set up a TP, you charge right click, you TP through, right click on a backline, and then TP back again, like those kind of things. And then the other thing I'd add as well is, like, please use Symmetra wall to split. So many people, like, will have like a team fight here, or there's team A and there's team B, and I see Symmetras on team A, they'll do a wall like this, and I'm like, why, what does that do? Or they'll do a wall like this, and I'm like, well, all this team has to do is run away, and they're not doing it, this wall doesn't do anything, or they walk through the wall and now it's not doing anything. If the fight is happening here, the best fight or way to use your wall is split right down the middle, because that way that wall is accessible, you know, here or here or here or here. It's like constantly, like, all the way down between you and the enemy team. You can jiggle back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's so disruptive. You do not, like, it should be used to split the fight. Anything else? I mean, that's mostly it. For amateur teams looking to improve, would you say similar to individual improvement is best to pseudo one trick a comp and grind your way out? Would you say it's different and you should be a little more flexible? I think pseudo one trick a comp is great, yeah. Pseudo one trick a comp, and then have swaps that can be used to counter your comps. For example, if you want a one trick like Reaper Moira, that would be a hard comp to one trick. But you could theoretically go like Reaper Moira Sombra and then be like, okay, they're playing Brawl, so we're gonna go, like, I don't know, we're gonna swap our we're gonna swap our Reaper to a Pharah, and we're gonna swap our Lucio to a Mercy, and, you know, and then play the Moira Pharmacy with Winston Diva. You could play that into Brawl. Like, it'd be weird, but yeah, try and one trick. That's definitely a big return on investment, but also big return on investment is like your communicational, your between fight communication, your planning, your ult tracking, your decisiveness. Those are things that you guys need to be doing as well. So I wouldn't go too in detail about macro, micro. I wouldn't go too in detail about this advanced strategy. I would go very in detail on what is the comp we're playing. Let's get good at that, and our communication. Those two things, like, you want to hammer over everything else. I'm not Midget. I might have forgotten something. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I forgot about her. To be honest, I'm not very experienced at coaching Symmetra, so. One little tidbit I can give you is that I generally like TP bombs better on attack, because on defense, I think you having the map control allows you to set up your turrets in more valuable locations. Although there is an argument for that when you're on defense, you can better place your TP bombs so that they scuff up backline. Let's put it this way. TP bombs are good on attack and defense, but are generally more necessary on attack because you're less likely to have enemies push into your space on attack, if that makes any sense. How do you play Symmetra and dive? You can you can, it's not terrible, like, it's pretty bad, but you are 225 HP, so that is helpful. Use your turrets to deny flanks instead of just AFKing on choke. In other words, I don't know if you saw me look over, I think it was hybrid Symmetra. Yeah, it was hybrid on Lijiang Night Market, Lijiang Garden. where, you know, the point's a circle, and London was sitting on the point, and they were like getting dove, right? And they had Symmetra, and Hybrid was like either saving turrets for TP bomb on an Ana, or he was like throwing turrets on the main, when he really should have been throwing turrets behind. Even just 1 or 2 on a Tracer or a Doomfist flanking is really annoying for them to deal with. So that like, you're gonna use to play Symmetra to dive, utilize your turrets to like harass Tracer flanks, Genji flanks, Sombra flanks, things like that. And also you can utilize your TP. It doesn't have to be like a crazy long TP, but you could be like, okay, where our backline's here, I'm gonna set up a TP like right here to right here. And then as you get dove, you can just TP across here. And even if your whole team doesn't take it, you can. It's enough. It's a distraction, and it also splits their target focus when they actually do dive, because they're like, oh, we gotta break the TP, you know. It's like, so you can utilize your TP to like scuff up dives pretty like it's all right. And then the other thing I'd say Symmetra into dive as well is I actually think in terms of target focus, focusing Monkey is good, but if they're running like Ball or something like that, you should focus DPS instead, because you're gonna get, even if it's like a little awkward, but if you land like a right click on a Genji or a Sombra or a Tracer, that's gonna be a lot more valuable than beaming down a Ball who you're probably not gonna kill anyway. Because like if you can force recall or translocator or deflect or something, like that's a lot of pressure off of your team. So something to keep in mind. Okay. When the enemy team is playing double bubble and you're playing Brig, how do you boop the Monkey when he engages on the backline? You don't. You either boop him so early right before the bubble gets there, or you avoid the engage entirely and then whip shot / bash him after the bubble is expired. Like, you can watch Overwatch League replay viewer, and that's exactly how it's played. It's just either you whip shot really early, or you just survive the engage and then punish afterwards. Pog. How do you feel about the 5v5 Overwatch 2 announcement? How does it affect how you feel about the future of the game? I'm skeptical, but I'm not devastated at all. Like, I feel like a lot of people were like super emotional over it, and it was kind of cringe, like the amount of knee-jerk responses I was seeing from Twitter and Reddit from even well-known personalities, which I get it. It's their job. It's my job to an extent as well, but like, I don't know. I made a long video on it. You know, we did the long live stream. I posted it yesterday. If you want my full thoughts, you can check it out. It's too many thoughts to put here. I'm mid or high masters and flex support. I'm stuck in silver as Hanzo after 80 games. What to do? I have no idea. You must really suck at Hanzo though. Like that I have never heard of this before. You'd have to send in a VOD. Are you 80 games, man? Are you disrespectful? That's the first thing I'd ask. Are you disrespectful, or are you mentally boomed? Because I have seen players who like will be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna lower rank, so I'm just gonna like not even care and just like meme, or just like not respect and not play the way they're supposed to play, or play too aggressive, and they get punished for it, and then they get tilted and they get boomed and they start losing, and then they're getting worse and worse and worse and worse, or even worse, they build bad habits as a result of it. But I don't know, dude. That's sketch. You got some serious problems if that's an issue. 2000 SR, even if it is off rolling, that's bonkers. You will send a VOD? All right, like I don't know what to tell you. 80 games? Maybe you just suck at Hanzo. Maybe you're just really bad at Hanzo. Non-sub review. How does this work? Send me a replay. Send me a replay. How do I play tanks? I play Winston Zarya mainly versus Zen. Zen Discord always feels oppressive for me, and it feels hard to take space without getting melted by Discord. You have to take space and around cover better. You have to be disciplined. You have to be really disciplined and avoid taking poke on your initiation. Specifically with Winston. I mean, to an extent as well, sorry. So like, you have to find a way to get to the Zen without using your jump, or to get to the Zen quickly without taking damage, so that you're able to survive, because you're at 500 HP on entry and not 400 HP on entry. That gives you that extra 100 HP to play around with, so you can jump out again afterwards. A lot easier said than done. Easier said than done. Yeah, it's untame as my hair, basically. But I mean, this is so situationally specific, but I would say look for situations where, like flanking, taking high grounds, things like that, to where you can engage on a Zenyatta without having to take damage on entry, or without having to use your jump pack. And a lot of that times it's flanking, a lot of that times it's using high ground, like I said. Okay.